Assalamu alaikum everyone, welcome back to billing management system, and today is our lecture number 3. And in today's lecture I'm going to demonstrate the vendors and the shops and the customers and the relationship between these three entities inside our billing management system. In the previous lecture I have demonstrated the login detailed work and the code and the implementation also, and we have also seen the database and the CRUD operations with respect to the roles window and the users window. And in today's lecture I'm going to create these vendors and shops and customers user interface along with the database that I have to create for these entities. Okay, so let's have a look what we have today. Alright, so guys, this is our software, and roles window we have checked, users window we have checked, and now we will work on the vendors window, shops window and the customers window, and then we'll see the bills and later classes. Okay, so first thing that I wanted to do here is to select all the buttons by pressing the control key, and then go to the properties and then make the cursor to hand, so that it become the difference when you come on the bring your mouse on these buttons, so the cursor will change to the hand icon. Okay, so one more thing, after doing this change you have to go to your sample window also, double click on your sample and select your buttons by pressing control, and do the same by going on the cursor and then selecting your hand button. That's it. Save it and then build your software or start your software so that the changes will be taken place. Alright, so let me log in, Ali, and then the password is 12345, and when you come here, look, the cursor is changing when you are hovering your buttons. Okay, and same is the case on these buttons also. So that's what the global operation I have done, and if you see on users you can see all the things are now set. Okay, so let us create now the vendors window and then the code for that. So close this also, close this sample, and now let's go to the solution explorer, close this, and then right click on your BMS and add a new window, add new item, and then select your Windows form, and then what you can write here, yes, vendor, and then window, and then click add. Now right click, view code, and go right here, inherited version, that is sample 2. I hope it is clear to everyone. Now go to the user interface. So my window is ready, and now remove this window from the heading, and then what do you need to add here? Let me pick up a label and a text box. You need a vendor name, so text box. Okay, all things are now set. Let us go to the database, and I wanted to tell you that what need you should to add. So I have created a query to create a vendors table. Okay, vendor, let's say vendor is the owner of the particular business, so vendor ID, that's auto increment, primary key, the name, the phone, the address. So I need to add these three things. So let us go to the software, and right here select your and then copy it, paste it. So vendor name, phone and address, so these three things I have to pass it here. Now arrange them appropriately along with the bars so that they are managed. I hope it is clear to everyone. Now give them name. Let us move here and give here the vendor, and then the label should be address and phone, and then address. Okay, that's it. And then the vendor text box, so it should be vendor text, and the length should be 100, not more than that. So right here 100, and then phone, so the length should not be more than 15, and then it should become phone text, and here you should need address text, so address. Okay, and then the length should not be more than 200, I think. Yes, no, that's 100, so right here 100, so that the things are synchronized. Now what you need to do, double click on your vendor, double click on your phone, double click on your address, and then go to your users window, copy this and this validation code, and then paste here on the vendor text. Go to the start and pick up your vendor text name, copy it, paste it, so that the validations will apply on text change, and paste it. Okay, then copy it again and paste it below in the phone text here. So phone text, copy it and paste it, and then paste here, and also at this point. I hope this code is clear to everyone. This is the same repetitive task. So copy it and then paste it again, and then specify your particular address. So copy this address text and paste it here. Okay, so like this. Okay, so that's my design and the validation of my particular controls. And now select all these controls and make them enabled false by default. Now that's fine. So these controls are now disabled by default. Now what you have to do, you have to go to the sample and copy the save buttons and the delete and the view and the search. So copy and go to the vendor and go to the code and paste right after this and save it. Instead of virtual, you have to replace with override in the current document. So I have replaced these things. So my basic settings are now ready for with respect to the vendors window. Now what you have to do, you have to create another window for the shops. So right click BMS and add Windows form, and you can write here shops window, and because every vendor, let's say, have multiple shops, you have to think in a huge context, in a large context, because one vendor or one owner can have multiple shops with respect to the branches or with respect to the other different physically located shops. So that's why I have created this window sample 2, and now save and then come here. All things are now ready. Go to the form and remove this window heading shops, and now it's fine. So what you have to do, you have to go to the database, and let me show you the shops. What is here? So I have already created this vendor table, and now the shops table. So that's my shop ID, that's identity, no need to insert name, and then this shops belongs to which vendor. So I have created a foreign key here. Let me show you like this, and foreign key is this with respect to the vendor ID. Okay, so and when you are trying to delete the vendor, it will not allow you to delete until and unless you delete the shops of the vendor. So that's the code that I have applied here. And then the branch address, where what's the branch address you are going to add on for this shop, and then who runs this branch, the manager ID, that is the user of this software. I hope it is clear to everyone. Okay, so that's for future use I have used. So the users that you have added inside your BMS, inside your billing system, let me show you the tables. So any user that is a manager can be used here to assign that particular user to that particular shop. I hope it is clear to everyone. So that's what I have created here, the shops table. So I need here name, and then belongs to, and then branch address, and then manager address. So let us go to the design and do the code. So let us go to the vendor window and copy these controls and paste there. So at the top, what you need first, the shop name. Okay, shop name, and the text box should be shop text. Okay, and like check the length in the database, that is 100. So the length here is 100, yes. And then what else? Here you need belongs to. So here you need a drop down, because all the vendors should appear here. Okay, one vendor can have many shops. So here you write vendor, and then instead of this text box, you pick up a combo box. Let me put it here at this point and increase its size. Go to its drop down style to drop down list, and its flat style to pop up, so that validations can be applicable on this control. I hope it is clear to everyone. That's my vendor drop down. So vendor drop down, and then you need what, branch address. So can you write here branch at the beginning? Okay, branch address, and then you need what at the end, copy this and paste it below and here. Now instead of vendor, you write here the manager. So who is the manager? Okay, so all the managers only should display here. Okay, only the managers of that only the users that come here should be the managers that belongs to the manager role. I hope it is clear to everyone. Okay, so that's my manager drop down. So give here a name, manager drop down, the person who is operating this shop. Okay, so that's it. All things are now set with respect to this. So double click on now shop, double click on this, double click on this, and double click on this, because everything is mandatory. So first thing that you need to do is go to your users window and go to your drop down code and copy this code for validation. Come to your shop and paste here at vendor and paste here at manager. So what you can do, manager drop down, copy it, paste it, and here you have to paste it again. Okay, save it. Now vendor drop down, you need to copy this vendor, paste it and paste it. So here you also have to paste. Okay, so vendor is pasted, and now let us go to the users text and select this one, copy it and go to the address, paste it. So that's my address text, no need to change the name because these are the same. And now the shop text, so you have to change it here, shop text, and copy this shop and then paste it vice versa, paste and paste, save it, and then all the validations are now successfully applied. Now what you have to do, go to the sample and copy these save buttons code and edit, etc., etc., and then paste it here, and then go to the shop and double click here so that the load window will be the code is applied. Now all things are now set with respect to the shop, and now let's design the customers window. So for that, solution, BMS, and then add new item, and then the Windows form is selected by default, so customers. Okay, so customers belongs to a particular shop because customers come to the shop and buy from there. So customers window, and then add, and then right click and then go to the form and write here sample2, and then save, and then come here, and then the things are there. Remove the window from the heading, it's your choice whether you wanted to put a heading that way or that way. Now one more thing that I must mention here, that I have applied a security constraint here, a unique constraint with respect to multiple columns, because let's say you have entered an XYZ shop that belongs to a particular vendor, you cannot add the same XYZ shop to that particular vendor again. So the duplication I have avoided with the help of this code. So I have created a constraint with this name, and that will check the uniqueness of these two columns together. Okay, so you have to do this also. And now look at the customers table. I have also created this customers table, if you see on the left hand side in the object explorer. So customer ID is unique, the name, phone, and from where that customer belongs, simple. So you have to add that customer for long terms, and then the email. So name, phone, and email, and then customer belongs to. So one thing that you have to go on your shops window first, because I have skipped one or two things. That is this, select these combo boxes and make them enabled false by default, because I have picked up from the toolbox, so they are not enabled by default. Now copy this and come here on the customers window, and here you have to paste these controls. Now place it at appropriate place. Now what you need to add here, the name of the customer, so customer, and then customer belongs to which shop, so belongs to shop. Okay, so you need to enter the shop, and then the phone and the address. So the address of the customer, no address I don't have, I have the email and then the phone, sorry. So here should be the email. Okay, customer name, then email, and then you have phone number, so you have to write here phone. Okay, and instead of this you have to copy this one and you have to paste it and then place it here. And now double click, before double clicking here you can write customer text, and what is the length of the customer here, it's 100, so you have to specify 100, yes that's 100, and then shop drop down, so it should be shop drop down, and email, so email text, and then specify the length of the email, that is 50. So here you have to write 50, and then the phone, that is maximum length should be 15, and then you have to come inside the name, so phone text, here you can specify phone. Okay, so all things are now set. So double click on your customer, double click on your shop, double click on your email, double click on your phone. Now apply the validations also quickly. So go to your vendors window and select this and copy it and paste it here. Instead of vendor, you write here customer text. Okay, and then this one, that's it. So now shop drop down, for drop down you have to pick up the drop down code. So let us open the shop window and then go to the code and select the drop down one. So that's it. So copy and paste it here, and shop drop down, copy it and paste it here, and this point, and at this point. I hope it is clear to everyone. Now what else you need to write the email one, so copy this one and paste it again. Okay, and then it should become email text, and then copy it and then paste it respectively here and then here also. So that's it. So now phone number, so copy and then paste it, and then here, right here, phone text, copy, paste and paste. Okay, so these are my basic settings with respect to my all the windows. Now let us go to the home screen and apply these windows. So home screen design, that's my vendor button, so give it a name vendor BTN, and then shops BTN, and then we have the customer BTN. Yes, there the customer BTN is already there. So vendor double click, shop double click, and the customer double click. Okay, now vendor window we have to open here, so copy and paste what do you write here, vendor window, and then copy and then paste, and then copy this all again, paste here also and paste here also, and just change the class. So shop window, copy and paste, and here you have to write the customer window, so customer, and then copy and then paste, save it. So all things are now set. So let's start and check whether these things are appearing appropriately or not. Right, so log in with the name, and then vendors, look, vendors are there and these are disabled, check it, and back, shops, these are disabled, yes, and then customers, so these are disabled. I hope it is clear to everyone. So our basics are ready. So these all are the crude operations, guys. So let us do the first, the vendors code. Database. Here you have created the table vendor, so now I am going to create the stored procedures of the vendor table. So have a look at that. Create procedure st_insert vendor as, what are the column names inside the vendor, see from here. So @name, that should be varchar 100, and not null, no need to write here not null because that's my variable, and then phone, and phone is also varchar 15, and address, so it should also be varchar and it's 100 in length, and then insert into vendor values round brackets @name and @phone and @address. So that's it, and then execute it. Commands completed successfully, make it downwards, and then copy this code, paste it here. After insert vendor, write here update vendor, and one thing that you have to pass it is the ID. So ID integer, and instead of this, update vendor set vendor underscore name equals to @name, yes, and then specify vendor underscore phone is equals to @phone, and then vendor underscore address is equals to @address, where vendor underscore ID is equals to @ID. Okay, and then you have to execute it. Commands completed successfully. You can see the notice here, the notification of the success. Okay, then you have to copy it again and create the delete one. So paste it, and what you can do here, change the name, delete vendor, and then remove these all, because with respect to ID I am going to delete as delete from vendor, and then where vendor underscore ID is equals to @ID. That's it. So that's my delete procedure. Execute. Commands completed successfully. And now the select procedure, paste, and here you write get vendors, and then specify nothing as select from vendor v, and you can write here v dot id as id, and then come downwards, comma, v dot name as name, or you can write here vendor, and then specify v dot address as, you can select first phone, so phone as phone number, and then v dot address as address. So all things are now set. One thing that you can specify, order by v dot name ascending, so that alphabetically the names will be displayed. So this is the whole thing that is for vendors. Okay, now let us create the stored procedures for the shops and then for customers. So new queries, and now create procedure st underscore insert shops, and then as, and now let us open the shops table. Here you need what, the name of the shop, so @name varchar, and then the name, the length is 100, belongs to, so that's basically the vendor ID. So instead of writing belongs to, I am writing here vendor ID, and then specify the data type, that is integer, and then after vendor ID we have the branch, that means the address basically, so branch, that is varchar 100. So you have to be very careful when specifying the data types and the lengths. So specify the manager ID now, manager ID, and then it's integer, and then insert into shops values, and then respectively provide these name @vendor ID, and then @branch address, and then @manager ID. Okay, so execute it. Commands completed successfully, and now copy this and paste it here, remove this, minimize this. Okay, so insert shops, then update shops, and here you can specify the ID of the shop. So write simple ID, and that is integer, and update shops set s underscore name is equals to @name, and then s underscore branch is equals to @branch, belongs to equals to @vendor ID, and s underscore manager ID is equals to @manager ID. Okay, where s underscore id is equals to @id, and then execute this. That's done, and that's also done, I think. Yes, that's also done. So two things are now ready, and now copy this and come here and paste it, and then delete shops. So delete shops, and you can specify the id only here, and then as delete from shops where s_id is equals to @id. Okay, so I hope you are getting what I am doing. So delete from the shops, done. And now the selection code. So create procedure st_get shops, and now we need the inner joins here because we have the references also. As select from shops s inner join vendors v on the common columns v.id is equals to s dot belongs to. Okay, so vendor id. Now inner join, we have to apply also the users u where on the common column, that is u dot id from the users table, and v dot s dot manager id. Okay, so that manager will be picked up. And now the columns, so you have to specify s dot id, every column you need to provide here. So s dot id is equals to id, and then s dot name, that's a shop name, shop, and then s dot branch address as branch, and then s dot manager id as manager id, and then s dot user id belongs to the manager the vendor id basically. So vendor id, and then v dot name as vendor name, so that's the vendor, and then v dot what do you need, s dot the u dot, so I have to pick up the name. So u dot name as specify the user or the manager, simple. Manager id we already picked up here. So that's it, all things are now selected, and now execute get shops. I hope it is clear to everyone. Now two tables procedures are now done. Now let us create the third table procedures. So create procedure st_insert customers. Usually I have done this work already in the previous lectures and the previous softwares, but the reason of this I am doing in front of you people, so that you can be able to understand what's actually going behind and why I skipped these things. So for that purpose I am demonstrating this, so that you can be easily follow me what I am doing. So let's go open customers. So customers, here you need the name of the customer. So @name, the varchar length is 100, so varchar 100, and then @phone, and then phone number is varchar 15, and then you need @vendor id or belongs to, so I am writing belongs to. Okay, I have pressed belongs to. So belongs to data type is integer, that means that's my vendor id basically. So no, that's my shop id. Yes, so instead of this confusing term, may I write here shop id, so that I can be able to easily judge what is this. So that's my shop id where the customer belongs, and then you need the email. So @email varchar, and the length is 50, and what you need here, insert into customers and values, and then @name, @phone, and then @shop id, and then @email. So respectively you have added the data based on the column. So insert customer, commands completed successfully. And now copy this and paste it below, in fact of insert right here update, and name, phone ID, email, shop, everything is same. And what else you need here? The ID of the customer, that is big integer, so big int, and update customers, set customer underscore name is equals to @name, comma, customer underscore phone is equals to @phone. You don't need to mention the sequence here because updation is does not require the sequence. So what's the shop ID? So shop ID, and then C underscore what you need here, the email equals to @email, and then C underscore phone, that is equals to @phone. Okay, no, phone is there, so what's left? C underscore belongs to is there, phone is there, name is there, email is there, all things are now done. So where you have to specify where, and C underscore ID is equals to @ID. Okay, so the update procedure is now completed. Execute, commands completed successfully. And now the delete one, so copy this one and paste it and write here delete, and then specify this, and then as delete from customers where customer underscore ID is equals to @ID. Okay, so execute it, and now you need to create the get. So copy this and paste it and get customers. Okay, so as select from customers C, and you have to write here C dot ID. Okay, let me put it down as ID. One thing that I will change later on, I will tell you. First I have to complete this, then customer, and then C dot email as email, and then C dot phone is equals to phone, that there are aliases, and C dot now belongs to, so I have to apply the join. So first C dot shop ID as shop ID, and then the name of the shop should be picked up from the join, inner join shop S on S dot shop ID is equals to C dot shop ID. I hope it is clear to everyone. That's my join. And now S dot name, sorry, the name comma is not there. Yes, S dot name as name. I hope it is clear to everyone. Or you can write here the shop name, basically simple. But one thing that you should do, let me tell you that okay, first execute this so that the things are now completed. Because we are creating an accounting software, so when you are opening a customer's account, let's say you are adding a customer, so you are opening the account of that customer. Now listen carefully please. When you are opening the customer's account, let's say if you are going to a bank, okay, so you always deposit some amount, okay, or you start your maths or your calculations from some amount, okay. So when you are adding a customer, so there should be an amount on which the account of that customer should open, okay. The ledger of that customer, the billing of that customer should start from which amount, so you have to mention here, that is copy this and paste it, and here you have to mention here opening balance. So you are opening the customer balance from this point, okay. So opening balance, now our accounting terminologies are now starting, okay. Opening balance, and here you can specify the text box as open text, and it should be right aligned, and the default thing, that is the maximum length, it doesn't matter here because it's maths, okay, and it also enabled false, yes. And now one thing that we have to do is to double click here and copy this validation and paste it here. Okay, so where was it? Here. So paste it, go from the beginning, copy this one and paste it here, and also paste it here, save it. That's it. So all things are now set. If you are opening a customer, if you are starting the opening balance for the customer, there should be an opening balance for the vendor also. Okay, so because the owner, you have to take care of the ledger of the owner as well with respect to the customer or with respect to the debits and the credits. So what you need to copy this, and you need to go on the vendor screen also. Okay, so where is that vendor? Yes, but one more thing that I must tell you, that vendors are linked with the shops and the customers are linked with the shops. Okay, so that's a hierarchy. Customer belongs to the shop, shop belongs to the vendor. I hope it is clear to everyone. So customer is not purchasing from the vendor, customer is purchasing the goods from the shop. Okay, so it's a thing that you have to analyze. So go on the shop, and here you have to write the opening balance. Either the shop is in profit or either the shop is in loss. I hope it is clear to everyone. So with respect to the shop, you are managing the opening balance. Okay, so you have to paste instead of vendor, because one vendor can have many shops. So how can you judge that this amount belongs to which shop? So to be specific, I am specifying the opening balance here. I hope it is clear to everyone. Inside the shops window, that this shop is I am adding this shop, and there is no amount to give in this shop, there is no amount to take from anyone from this shop. I hope it is clear to everyone. So you can specify that balance, opening balance here. So double click and also specify that from the customers window, the validation. So copy it and then paste it. And now how can you specify the positive and negative balance? Let's say if the shop is in credit, that means the shop is in loss, or the shop needs some amount, so you enter the amount in negative. Okay, and if the shop is in profit, so you enter the amount that is non-negative. I will tell you and elaborate more in more detail later on. But for this is the accounting term, so you need to store this in a separate table. So let me show you those tables that I have created for this. Let us go to the queries that I have written for you people. Look, when you are inserting the customer, the customer ledger should also be inserted. So I have created the table. Ledger means the debits and the credits of the customer. Debit means if you know accounting, I have a little knowledge about accounting. If I am wrong, so please, anybody who is listening, so please correct me. So in ledger you do debits, credits and the balances. So what is debit? Debit is basically the thing that you are receiving. Okay, the assets, the assets that you that belongs to you. Okay, let's say you receive some amount, 5,000 in your pocket, so that will become your debit. Okay, and if you are giving some amount to some other one, so that is going from you to other, so that will be the credit. Okay, and then the remaining is the balance. So this is the brief little description about the debit credit. So what I have done here, customer ledger ID, and then the customer ID on which I am creating this ledger, and then the description. So what is the amount? What's the reason behind transferring this amount from there to here, here to there? So you have to add the description, and then if the amount is in positive, then you first time when you insert the data of that particular customer, if the amount is in positive, then that will become debit, and if it is going out from you, then you will insert it as credit, and then the rest of the thing will be calculated as balance. So I hope it is clear to everyone. And then the date on which that transaction has happened. I hope it is clear to everyone. Now after customer ledger, I have also created the vendor ledger. Okay, and here all the things are same. In fact, I have passed the shop ID, and the shop belongs to vendor, so that we can be able to find out the exact vendor, and we can show the totals and all that. Okay, so these are my two tables, so I have to create the procedures for these also. Okay, so what I have to do, create procedure st underscore insert customer ledger as. So what I need to pass here, the customer ID, that is big integer, okay, and then the description, and then that should be varchar 200, and then the debit, that is float, and credit. Okay, I have made them default 0, so if I do not insert the values, the default value will be 0. Okay, so debit, credit, and then float, and then @balance, float, and then @date, so date, and then insert into customer ledger values and specify @customer ID, @description, @debit, and then @credit, and then @balance, and then @date. Okay, so that's my insert customer ledger executed, commands completed successfully. And now copy this code and then paste it below, and here you write insert vendor ledger or shop ledger in short. So here you need to pass the shop ID and then also, yes, and all things remains the same, shop ID. Okay, there is nothing different because all the things are same here in vendor in vendor ledger also. Okay, so that's fine. And now insert into vendor ledger, and that's it. Now one more rule in accounting we see is whatever you have inserted cannot be deleted. Okay, if you have may you have entered the wrong entry, let's say you have entered the wrong amount, then you if you have done some mistake, then you have to reverse that entry. You have to enter that same amount in reverse order. Let's say you have debited 5,000 rupees mistakenly, so you have now you have to create another entry for that with respect to minus 5,000, so that the entry will be reversed, and you have to specify the reason that is a mistake. So because the matter of fact is you are dealing with the amount, the money, so you have to very careful, and you have to mention everything, the mistakes and all the things. So it's my knowledge, if you have some other way you can do that also. Okay, so I am just creating now only the insert ledgers and all that. Now what you need to do, you have to now go to the vendors and then do the accrued operations for the vendors window. So close these all, open the vendor first. Where is the vendor? Here is the one. Now at this time you are only going to add simple details. So let me go to the users window and then go to the save button. Let me show you the save button. Here is the save button. Okay, so I am copying all the code of the users window, copy, and I am pasting here inside the save button of my vendors window. Paste, simple. Okay, now you have to call the classes using CMS for main class. Let me zoom in and let me close this. Okay, using CMS, and now you have to remove the errors, so press Ctrl dot, and then for vendors, let us go to the vendors procedures. Where was that? I have created the vendor. Yes, insert vendor, copy it and paste it here, and now the columns name, phone and address. So name is there, phone is there, address is there. Remove username and password. That's why I copy and paste, because the time is limited. Now it's fine. So name, phone and address. Here you write vendor text, phone text and address text remains the same. You can include it using control dot, using crude. Look, added. Here you write vendor, and then in fact of load use, instead of load users, you go to the users window and copy this code and come on your vendor and go to the top, paste it, and here you write load vendors. And do we have the grid view? No, I don't have the grid view. So go to your users window, copy this grid, paste here in the vendor, and you need to display only remove this, you need phone, you need address, you don't need password, you don't need username. So name, address, phone, and here you need, instead of user ID, you write here vendor ID GV, and the heading should also be vendor ID, so that you won't get confused. So that's it. So now my grid is ready, and now simple, you have to pass here vendor ID GV. How can you judge what columns you should give here? So it's simple, see your get vendors. Okay, so ID, then vendor, then phone, then address. So ID, then vendor GV. Where is that vendor? Okay, the name of that thing is the name GV. Yes, so name GV, that's my vendor basically, and then my phone, and then my address. So remove this one and remove the role IDs and all that, and then it's fine. Okay, phone and then address, verified, yes. Now instead of get users, you write here get vendors, copy and paste, save it, and then where you have to pass, here you have to pass load vendors, and all the things are now saved. And here you have to copy this whole code, the insert code, and you have to paste here in update, and then add another thing, copy and paste, that is the ID. So write here ID, let me verify you the update code. Here you have added only the ID, and let us create a vendor ID. So vendor ID variable, and pass it here as, okay, remove this and write here vendor ID. That's it. And then here you write the update vendor query procedure basically, and then paste, save it, and then it should be updated successfully. I hope it is clear to everyone. Load vendors and unable to save, unable to update the record, save it, and then you have to write the delete code. So go to the users window and go select the code from the delete. So copy it and go to the users window, vendors window, and paste it. Okay, here you need the ID, and here you pass the vendor ID, and if you see the delete procedure, that's ID, yes. Now you need to remove this procedure, and you have to paste this delete vendor and then copy it and then paste it and save it. Here you write vendor text, and then here you write load vendors, simple. And then the view button is the same, copy it, and then the button, paste it. Now one more thing that you have to write here is the click event. So double click, go to your users and copy this code and paste here. Okay, so edit is equals to 1, all the things are same. Here you write vendor ID, and here inside double quotes you have to write vendor ID GV, and then close, and then you need name text, okay, vendor text, and then here you specify name GV, I think, yes, that's fine, that was fine. And now after vendor you need phone. Okay, phone is there and address is there, so I don't need to use these two. Remove this, phone is there, address is there, I don't need to do anything. Okay, all things remains the same, save it, and then that's it. Let us start and check whether this vendor is working or not. So login, and then vendors, and then click save. Validations are applying. okay. And then when you write here the vendor name, okay, you have to click add button first, and then the vendor name, let's say Hamad, okay, and then the phone number, let's say 0312-123-12331, and then the address is, let's say, Sadar, that's the place, and then save. So Hamad added successfully, and all the details are appearing, and all the details are there also, okay. And now we'll have to add the shops, and then we'll have to add the customers, okay. So for shop, what we need to do the same, but before that we need to load the vendors, whatever the vendors we have, and we have to load the users also, okay. So for that purpose, what I'm going to do, let us see. Go to your which window? Let me close this, and let me close the users window, because I have now vendors. So close customers also, open your shops window, and double click here and go to the load. The first thing that you need to do here is to use the CRUD operation. So you don't have CRUD here, so don't worry. Right here CRUD, press Control dot and add the using CRUD. CRUD dot load list, and what you wanted to load, the procedure. I wanted to load the vendors, so get vendors. Where is the get vendor? Here is the get vendor, okay. Come here and paste it, and then you need the combo box, that is my vendor drop down, and then you need the value member. So the value member is ID, so right here ID, and the display member is your vendor, so vendor, okay, that's it. And then you need to make it CRUD dot load list, and then you need to pass the users. So let me select the users. So where is that? Programmability. Let us go to the programmability and stored procedures, and select the get users stored procedure. So guys, get users, copy this, and then come here, and then inside double quotes paste, because I need to load the users, okay. But one thing we have to do the change. We need to call the users that are only managers, okay. No other users should appear, or you can, it's your choice, you wish to call the all users, or you wish, so it's better to use the managers for that. Let me think, okay. For that purpose, I'm copying this, and I'm creating another query for that, and create procedure get users with respect to managers, okay. I'm only getting the managers. So where you have to write here where clause, where r dot name equals to manager, and that's it. So whatever, who are the managers that will come only, okay. So let us select and check, do we have a manager? No, we don't have the manager right now, but we can add the managers also. I hope it is clear to everyone. Now let's execute. Commands complete successfully. Now copy this, and in fact of this you write here this, simple, okay. So that's the benefit of reusability. You don't need to change the stored procedure, you don't need to change the code again and again, just change the stored procedures, but that's it. So now the combo box, that is the user drop down, or the manager drop down, I think, yes, manager drop down, and then the ID is ID, and the display is user. So user, that's it. After that, one more thing that I must mention here is vendor drop down dot back color is equals to color dot white, because I have make the data bound control, so on load the color become red, as you have noticed in the previous lecture. So let me change here manager drop down, that's fine. So you'll see the change, okay. Now at shop you get this, start and check. So login, I must enter these things by default, so that I don't need to add again and again for development purposes. Now vendors, no, not vendors. First of all, we go to the users and add some managers, okay. Look, that's why I have done by default, when you have selected index -1, so it is coming in red, that's why I have applied that in there in that window. So what I have to add here, a manager, so let's say Osama, okay. Username is Osama, password is, let's say, 12345, phone number is 0345-12311, and then address, let's say Sadar, and then role is manager. Okay, I have added the role already, so save it. So I have a manager Usama. Let me add another manager, Walid. Username Walid, password is 12345, phone number is any phone number, address is anything, let's say NN, and the role is manager. Okay, save it. So look, this is the dynamic work. You don't need to go again and again and call the software vendor. Now let's go to the shops, and on load, look, nothing is red, and when you click add and you click here, look, the vendors are appearing and the managers are appearing. I hope it is clear to everyone. Okay, so based on the shop name, I will select the vendor, and I will select the particular vendor of that particular particular manager of that particular shop. I hope it is clear. Though the users are there also, like the admin, that is Ali Raza, is also there, but only the managers are coming here. I hope it is clear to everyone. Okay, now we'll have to do a different code CRUD operation, because here we have two tables. Here we have two tables. So let me do this. First of all, the save code. Let us go to the vendor screen and copy the save button code. So let me zoom out it and copy it. Copy, and then where you have to go, on the shops window, right? On save button I have pasted it. Same. And now main class, and you have to apply the references. So using CMS, using collections, so that these errors will be removed. And what else you need to change? Yes, let me zoom it out now, zoom in. So that's my shops window, right? So go to the code. Where is my shops window? Shops procedures, that's my customers, that's my shops. Okay, so insert shop, copy it, and then paste it. Okay, and here you need to do the changes here also. So what are the procedures, parameters we have to check? So remove this also, remove these things, and remove these things. So the first thing are the parameter name, copy and paste, and then the vendor ID, copy and then paste. Branch address, copy and then paste. So first copy this and paste it here. Okay, so that will become the manager ID. So paste it. And now name is coming from the shop text dot text, and then the vendor ID, so convert dot to integer 32, and then what you need, vendor drop down dot selected value, simple, dot toString, the ID will be picked up, and then you need branch, so address text dot text, and then manager ID, so convert dot to integer 32, and then what you should add here, manager drop down dot selected value dot toString, simple. So the ID of the manager will be picked up. Now insert shops, yes, that's fine. Here you write the shop text dot text. Now we have to add one more thing, that is the opening balance. Okay, so we have to do another hash table, and we have to perform that things also. So for that purpose, what I need to do, I have to create an hash table here. So hash table ht2 is equals to new hash table, and then what you need, ht2 dot add round brackets, and then double quotes, comma, copy, paste, 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 and paste. So what you need to write here, let me show you, that is the insert. Where is that procedure? Let me show you. Where is my BMS? Let me open that BMS SQL. Okay, so because I am adding the shop, so the ledger of this table should be inserted. Okay, so shop ID, the first thing, copy it, paste it, and then description, copy it, paste it. Now there are tricks, copy it, and paste it, and then copy it and then paste it, and then copy and then paste, and then copy and then paste. Okay, so all things are now done. But look guys, shop you are adding right now. After adding the shop, you have to select that ID of the shop so that you can pass it to the second table. I hope it is clear to everyone. So for that purpose you need to call the ID of the shop. So for that, do we have a built-in procedure for that? No. So let us go. Oh, what I have done, I have mistakenly clicked somewhere. So okay, nothing has happened. Now let us create here, and now create procedure st underscore get last shop ID. Okay, as select top one ID, from shops s, where what you need to pick up the ID. So ID as ID where s dot, no, you don't need where, order by s dot ID descending. I hope it is clear to everyone. So only the last shop ID will be picked up, top one. So execute it. Commands completed successfully. Now do we have a global code for that? I don't think so. Let me write here crude dot, yes, we have the last ID code, we have that. Okay, so what it is returning, it is returning an object. So that's it, that's the benefit of object oriented programming. So what you need, simple, come here, and soon after the insertion, when you come inside, you have to pick up that. So integer 64, and I'm writing here the shop ID. No, that's the shop ID is not in integer. I think that is in, let me verify, it's an integer, sorry. So integer shop ID, let me create it globally, integer shop ID, and then come here and you can specify that shop ID is equals to crude dot load list. Life is very simple, one time code, and see the previous lectures for these all things. So in the previous softwares, the clinic management system, the restaurant management system, you'll find these things. So what's my procedure name? My procedure name is this. Copy it and paste it, and then come inside, and then the combo box name is okay, it's load list, sorry, you need the load last ID. So get last ID is the method name. Now that's fine. So you are passing the procedure, only you need to pass the procedure, nothing else, that's it. So the ID will be picked up, and what is happening here, okay, you need to close this, then semicolon, and then you have to convert it into integers. So convert to integer 32, and then bracket open and then bracket close. I hope it is clear to everyone. Okay, so now the shop ID is there, so you need to you can now pass the shop ID. Now description, because you are adding the shop for the first time, so the description should be, I am hard coding here, opening balance, opening balance. I hope it is clear to everyone. Then the debit. Now how can you specify that the amount the user is the software user is going to enter is in debit or is in credit? So you have to check that. How can you check that? Let me write here, if convert dot to single, and then round brackets, and then you write here open text dot text is greater than 0, that means the amount is positive. If the amount is greater than equal to 0 or greater than 0, that means you are entering in the debit. I hope it is clear to everyone. So what you can do, if the amount is greater than equal to 0, then, or write a simple greater than, so that you can't confuse, cut it and paste it here. Okay, if the amount is greater than 0, then you have to mention that amount inside debit. So single, and you have to specify the amount from the open text dot text. Simple. Okay, else you have to specify copy and paste, and you have to specify 0 if the amount is less than. I hope it is clear to everyone. Let me copy this this if again and make it more precise. And if the amount is less than 0, how can you enter the less than 0 amount? By entering the negative amount. Simple. If you enter minus 5,000, then this code will execute, and then what will happen? You use the math.absolute function so that it can remove the negative sign from the text. I hope it is clear to everyone. And then what it is asking you, the decimal value, so convert dot to single, and then come here and pass your open text. I hope it is clear to everyone. Okay, so the negative this absolute method remove the negative sign, okay, and make it positive. I hope it is clear to everyone. So what you can do, you can, when the amount is greater than this, then this should become, the debit should become 0 and this should become the credit. Copy and paste. Okay, if the amount is greater than 0, then you are entering in the column debit. Else copy this code and paste it here and write here debit 0. When debit is there, credit is 0, then when credit is there, debit is 0. I hope it is clear to everyone. Okay, so when the amount is greater than, then you are debiting, so the credit becomes 0. So copy this code and paste it here. So credit should be 0. Okay, so debit, credit 0, and when the amount is less than 0, then debit 0 and then credit is added. I hope it is clear to everyone. Okay, and now you don't need to add here this one. Both of the conditions will be, any of the condition will be executed based on the situation. Now the balance, how can you calculate the balance? Let us right guys, so one more thing that you have to do is the balance. So how can you add the balance? Let me tell you first. So first of all, create a float variable here with the name balance equals to 0, put it by default, and now you write here balance equals to balance plus debit. Now where is my debit? The amount, it is in open text. Okay, so you can specify one minute. What you can do, you can create two more variables here. Float, let me write here comma debit equals to 0, comma credit equals to 0. So three variables now, that is comma. Now it's fine. And now what you can do, you can specify here when this is greater than 0, then you are adding to debit. So debit is equals to this one. So can I write it as like this, and I pass debit here. I hope it is clear to everyone. Okay, and then the credit is 0. So I am specifying in variables so that you can be easily understood. And now what you can do, balance equals to balance plus debit minus credit. That's the formula in accounting. That's minus. Okay, so whatever will be the debit, whatever will be the credit, it will be added inside the balance. And then what you can do, you can add inside your balance this. So what you can write here, bal, and in this you can cut it also and you can paste it here. So debit is calculated, credit is calculated, balance is calculated. By default both or everything is 0. Debit, credit, balance is calculated, and then I have passed it to my hash table. Okay, same is the case here. So instead of this, what I have to write here, debit is equals to 0 because debit is 0, credit is equals to this one. So copy, cut this and paste it here, semicolon, and write here credit. I hope it is clear to everyone. And then the balance, copy it, and then you have to add the balance also. So credit is there, now balance, for that the equation is the same, copy it and then paste it. I hope it is clear to everyone. So if the amount is greater than 0, then do this, and if the amount is less than 0, then do this. Okay, so that's what mathematical calculation is. Now the date. So what is the date when you are adding? So simple date time dot now or date time dot today. and now you get the time also. We are not getting the time. So shop added successfully, and now load vendors. So here you need to copy the code from the load vendors, and you have to go to the shop and paste it at the top here, and you have to write the load shops, and then here you need to remove this, remove this, remove this, remove this, and what you need to get here is the get shops. Where is that procedure, get shops? Let me show you where is that get shops. Bell SQL. Okay, where is that? Tables. Where are my procedures? Where I have created that procedures? Okay, don't worry, go to the stored procedures and select get shops. So that's my stored procedure, get shops. So copy it and come here, and no, we here we have to paste, yes. So save it, and now what you need to pass? The ID. So first of all we need to have the grid view for the shop. So come here, copy this grid and come inside and paste it here, and then go to the columns, remove these columns, and now add. What do you need first? ID of the shop. So shop ID GV, and then that shop ID, and it should not be visible, it will be read only, and then the shop GV, the name of the shop, and then specify, and then that's it. And then you need the branch and then manager ID, vendor ID. So branch GV, branch, and it should be visible, and then vendor ID GV, vendor ID, it should not be visible. Okay, and then manager ID GV, and it should also be not visible, manager ID, and then what else? Vendor and manager, the name of the vendor. So vendor GV, and it should be visible, and then the manager GV, and you write here manager in cap uppercase, right? Save it and close, and then click OK. So all things are now added. Click save, and now come here and then add. The first thing that you have is shop ID GV, then the shop GV, and then you need to add branch manager ID. So branch GV, manager ID GV, after branch manager, then vendor ID GV. So copy, paste, 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 manager, then vendor ID GV, and then you need vendor and manager. So vendor GV, and then manager GV. Okay, so all things are now passed, and now get shop, that's it. And one more thing that you can do, you can specify the opening balance also of that shop. So for that purpose, now I am using inner join, and then that's my vendor ledger VL on s dot shop ID is equals to VL dot shop ID, and then you need to specify the opening balance. So what you can write here, you can write okay, leave the opening balance. I don't need that opening balance right now for the current time being, ignore that, we'll see it later. Okay, so I haven't changed here. I think yes, I haven't changed anything. So let's go and do the other task. So here after this you need load shop, that's it. And now if I copy this whole insert code, that's this. Okay, when we are going to update, so copy, and instead of this paste it here. So for updation you need what? You need to add the ID inside the update shops. Let us open that, update shops, modify, and then okay, so here you need the ID. So @ ID is the procedure. So right here copy, and then here you need to write here ID and then specify the ID of the shop. So shop ID is not anywhere, so let me write here integer shop ID. Okay, and verify here that is it integer or not. Yes, it is an integer shop ID. Now what's happening? It said that shop ID is already defined. Yes, I have defined there. Okay, so come here and go to the update, and yes, you can specify the shop ID, but the problem is no problem. The problem is no problem. Okay, so now we have to update the shop. So copy this and then paste it, save. So when you are updating the shop, it is not necessary you are updating the opening balance, but you may update the opening balance. Okay, so how can you update the opening balance of the shop? Get last shop ID is not the correct way. Okay, here you remove this and you have to remove this also. And what you have to do, because your shop ID is here, when you are updating you are clicking the grid. Okay, so come here in the properties and click event, and now go to the vendor and copy and paste the click event, copy and then paste. Okay, here you need the shop ID, and the shop ID is shop ID GV. Okay, and now it's fine. So shop ID directly I am using, and then what you need, shop name. So shop tag, shop GV. So where is that? Shop GV, shop ID, everything is now set. What else you need here? The vendor, the branch address. So for vendor you need to remove this, and you need to write here vendor drop down dot selected value is equals to raw dot cells of vendor ID GV, double quotes, and then dot value dot toString. So you no need to write toString. Vendor and then manager drop down dot selected value is equals to, copy and paste, and then you have to write here the manager ID GV, and then that's it. And now manager vendor, now the branch address. So copy and okay, I haven't copied that, so copy and paste, and here you write branch text, no, the address text basically, and then here you write branch GV, and then all things are now set. I think branch taken, vendor taken, shop taken, manager taken, opening balance is still missing. So we haven't picked the opening balance, so it's a requirement that we have to add the opening balance also in the select query. So let us go and write here the inner join opening balance, sorry, vendor ledger VL on s dot shop ID is equals to VL dot shop ID, and I am applying here where VL dot description is equals to, okay, let me write here opening balance. Why I have given here this trick? Because I only need the opening balance. Okay, so select those shops along with the vendors, of course, so the opening balance will be picked up. I hope it is clear to everyone. And now you can specify VL dot balance as balance. I hope it is clear to everyone. Fine. So now say now execute this procedure, get shops, and then specify here also. So open text dot text is equals to raw dot cells of dot value dot toString. Okay, and then you have to specify the open GV, open text. I don't have the column there also, so I have to specify here edit and a column that is open GV, opening balance is the heading, opening balance. It is also read only, close and put it at the last and then okay. So now come here and write here open GV and then save. Okay, so all things are now set. So what will happen when you are in update mode? The shop ID will be directly picked up. When you are in click mode, of course you have picked up the shop ID and then the opening balance and then the things remains the same, I think, yes, and then the date, and then it is updated successfully, and then load shop, and then unable to update record. And now what you need else, the delete. So copy this and go to the shop window and then come here on delete and paste. Instead of load vendors, here you write the shop ID, okay, and here you write the shop text, and then here you write the load shop and copy this, and here you have to paste it, save. Okay, one more thing that you have to address here is the virtual keyword. Copy and replace it with override, and then that's it. I hope it is clear to everyone. Okay, that's fine, that's all. Now let's run. So guys, log in, 1 2 3 4 5, log in, and then go to the shops and click save. Look, it is showing me errors, validations are there. Shop name, let's say ABC Garments, okay, and then the vendor is Hamad, and the branch address, let's say Sadar, and then the manager of that shop is Walid, let's say, and the opening balance I am adding here is 1000 rupees in positive. Okay, and then click save. Hopefully it should save. Yes, ABC Garments saved successfully into the system, but the data is not loaded. Maybe there is some problem. Let us go to the database and select the data from the shop. Where is that shop? Right click and select top 1000 rows. So no problem, the time is so much over, no problem for this issue. That the shop is there, okay, and let us go to the ledger. That's the vendor ledger table. Right click on this and edit top 200 rows. What's here inside? Let's see. So the problem is the data is not inserted here. Okay, so why it is not inserted here? Let us see. Yes, the problem is I haven't completed the code. If I show you at this point, I have just given the hash table. Where is the other code? I haven't given the other code. That's why the data is not inserted there in the balance table. So that was my mistake. No problem. Let me complete it quickly. So crude dot insert update delete, and you have to insert what? Insert ledger. So where is that? Let me go to the stored procedures and copy this vendor ledger, and you have to give here the procedure, this one, and then you have to pass the hash table, that's ht2. Now it will be inserted. I hope it is clear to everyone. That's why the data was not there. So let me go to the shops. Right click, where is that? Shops, right click and edit and delete that particular record, because that was my mistake. So delete. You can truncate it so that the identity will be reset also. Then go to the this, and because that's the mistake here, then there the mistake also for updation. So I'm not going to update right now. I'm just going to insert and to show you, and then in later classes we'll see the updation of this code also, because I haven't created the update procedure for vendor ledger. Login, vendors, shops, and then add, and then the shop name is ABC Garments, and then the vendor, and then the branch is Sadar, and then the manager is Usama, let's say. Opening balance is 1000 rupees. You can specify 0 also. Okay, save. ABC Garments added successfully. Still the data is not there. Let us execute it and execute it. Okay, still the data is not added inside this insert vendor ledger. So no problem guys, I think it's enough for today. We'll tackle this situation in the next class also. So do try this by yourself, and if you do not understand anything, please do write me. Thank you so much. Take care. Allah Hafiz.